Patriots, here's a number that should make you sick to your stomach. We've spent $113 billion supporting Ukraine's fight for survival. That's more than we spend on the entire State Department in 2 years. Yet the man we elected to lead us just told reporters that the reason he can't end this war is because two key personalities don't like each other. Give me a break. Folks, I've supported Donald Trump. I've defended his policies on this podcast for months. But that's not foreign policy. That's playground politics. And frankly, it's beneath him and it's beneath us. Welcome to Common Sense for America. I'm Bruce Rutherford. I'm coming to you from the beautiful Westwood Golf Club in Houston, Texas. And today we're going to talk about something that's got my blood boiling. You know what happens if we get this wrong? Trump rolls through the Ukraine, looks at Poland, and thinks these Americans don't have the stomach for a real fight. That will likely lead to American boys and girls in combat, not just American dollars in aid. That will likely lead to a bigger war with China in the Pacific. Now look at this timeline, folks. Here's what really happened. Biden authorized 900-mile range missiles in December, which the Ukrainians used to great effect to hit valuable military targets well inside Russia. Now, Trump stopped delivery of those missiles in January. 2 months later, he says, okay, defensive weapons and humanitarian aid only, which we will sell to NATO, and NATO will give those supplies to the Ukraine. Now, he threatens Putin with maybe we'll supply Ukraine with F-16s and the training to use them. Now that's not strategy, folks. That's a president changing his mind and trying to find a strategy as he goes along. That is a president who is not trying to win. Now here's the thing that President Trump apparently doesn't understand. Putin doesn't care if the missiles that destroy his ammunition depots come directly from America or get laundered through Brussels first. He doesn't care about the lives of Russian soldiers or the welfare of the Russian people. He thinks his willingness to sacrifice Russian lives and Russian resources will wear the Ukrainian people down and force them to surrender territory he cannot win on the battlefield. 78% of Ukrainians have said they will not surrender land for peace and they will fight to the end. Mr. President, Putin's been at the negotiating table this whole time. He's been stalling and lying to buy time for his attrition strategy. At least that's what I call it. He's been lying to buy time to let that attrition strategy work, while you, Mr. President, seem to have been more worried about not hurting his feelings. Look, I'm not here to bash President Trump, certainly not for sport. I want him to succeed. But here's what success actually looks like, and I'm getting this from people who have spent their careers thinking about how to win wars, not just how to avoid losing them. We have electromagnetic drones and countermeasures that can knock out entire fleets of Russian drones at one time. Think about that. Instead of shooting down drones one at a time like we're playing some deadly video game, we can shut down 50 at a time. Now, we've given some of this technology to Ukraine, but we're still treating this like we're trying not to lose instead of trying to win. The French, the Germans, and the Italians all have said they're willing to put boots on the ground in Ukraine. Not to invade Russia, but to defend a sovereign nation that's been invaded. That's a difference, though apparently it's too subtle for our State Department. That's a big difference. Now, I've got friends whose sons and daughters are serving right now. If we do not want to ask American families to send their kids into harm's way eventually, and that's where this is headed if we keep screwing around, then we better darn well make sure Ukraine can win this war. Look, here's the bottom line, and this is why I'm getting so worked up about this. The world is watching how America handles Ukraine. China's watching to see if we've got the stomach for a real fight before they make their move on Taiwan. Iran's watching to see if we'll back our allies when the chips are really down. North Korea's watching to see if our threats mean anything. Every time we hem and haw, every time we worry more about Putin's feelings than Ukrainian victory, every time we choose half measures over decisive action, we're telling our enemies that America doesn't have the will to fight anymore. That's the choice we're facing, folks. Do we want to be the America that wins or the America that manages a decline? Because right now, we're choosing decline. And we're asking Ukraine to pay the price for our indecision. We're also inviting a bigger war with China in 2027. Patriots, here's what I want you to do, and it's more important than any homework I've ever given you on this show. Go look up the real numbers, not the spin, not the talking points, the actual aid figures to Ukraine. Look up what our NATO allies are actually willing to sacrifice. Look at what happens to countries that let dictators succeed because they were too afraid to fight back. Then ask yourself this question: are we going to let personality conflicts and ideological blindness prevent us from doing the obvious right thing? I've got a simple rule that has served me in business and in life, and comes from the wisdom of Machiavelli. He said, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." Zelensky is Putin's enemy. Putin is America's enemy. This isn't complicated unless you make it complicated. And for those of you who think this is just about some country most Americans couldn't find on a map 6 months ago, remember this: when dictators succeed, they don't stop. They escalate, they test, they push until somebody pushes back. If Putin gets what he wants, there will be genocide in eastern Ukraine, and Putin will then invade the rest of Ukraine within 3 years. We can push back now with Ukrainian courage and American weapons, or we can push back later with American blood and American tears. Next time, we're diving into an analysis of the potential Democratic presidential candidates and whether any of them could actually challenge the Republican field in 2028. Spoiler alert, you might be surprised by some of the names we discuss, and you definitely won't like what it says about the future of American politics. Until then, I'm Bruce Rutherford, reminding you, common sense isn't partisan. It's just good sense. And sometimes the hardest person to tell the truth to is the guy on your own team. God bless you and yours, and God bless America.